Hello, everyone. My name is Claire Rumor, and I am co-director and senior faculty member at the Shakti Shiva Academy. And I am so happy to be here today with Betty Martin, who, amongst other things, is the author of an amazing new book called The Art of Receiving and Giving, The Wheel of Consent. And Betty is going to be a guest teacher on our upcoming, one of our guest teachers on our upcoming 9-month Sexual Awakening for Women course. And we are so excited to have her. And I wanted to create an opportunity where we get to introduce Betty and hear from you, Betty, about you, your work, this amazing new book you've just published, and some of the themes you're going to be teaching about in the bonus class that you'll be teaching. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And that's a lot to cover. How long do we have?
I know, right? We will dive right in. Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I'm a grandma, a former chiropractor, a former sex worker, not at the same time. Those were two different careers. And surrogate partner and sex coach and sex worker for a number of years. And it's out of that work that the Wheel of Consent grew. And the Wheel of Consent is a practice in taking, receiving, and giving apart. So that when it's your turn to receive a gift, it's all about you and you receive the gift that you want. Not that you think you're supposed to want, but that you actually want.
Yes.
And when it's your turn to give, you take what you want, you put it on the shelf and go with what your partner wants, within your boundaries, of course. So it's a practice in taking those apart, because it turns out that when you take them apart, you find out what they actually are. Because as long as you're trying to give something back, you can't actually receive this gift that you're being given. And likewise, if you're trying to get something back, you can't actually give a gift. So taking them apart shows us what they really are. And each of them feeds us in a different way. Each of them feeds our heart in a different way. And we need our hearts fed in those different ways. So the Wheel of Consent is about taking those apart. It's a practice. That doesn't mean that it's something you have to do all the time. I don't recommend that you live your entire life only giving or receiving, but it's a practice that shows you what they are and gives you some experiences in them. And in particular, it also takes apart who is doing. The who is doing question is a different question than who it's for. So that's really what the Wheel of Consent, that's really how the Wheel of Consent contributes to the consent conversation that's going on in the world.
I'm so curious.
Not that consent is a good thing. You already knew that. It's
right.
Like,
we already
knew that. This is a different question of who is doing and who it's for. Yeah.
And how did you arrive at the initial inspiration for the Wheel of Consent and what eventually became the book?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I, years ago in the 90s, I was attending a bunch of workshops with Body Electric School. And one of them was called Power, Surrender, and Intimacy. It was about using BDSM play to just supercharge your self-awareness. It was great. And one of the games that we played there was called a 3-minute game. And it consists of 2 people asking each other 2 questions. So you end up with 4 rounds. And the questions are, what do you want me to do to you for 3 minutes? Well, I can think of some fun things. And what do you want to do to me for 3 minutes? Oh, hell yeah, I can think of some fun things there too. So that creates 4 different experiences. And I took it home and started using it with my clients. And then I narrowed the questions a little bit for my purposes. And now I use, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? And how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? You could use either version. And so when you when two people ask each other those two questions, you have 4 rounds, and each one is a different combination of who's doing and who it's for. So
Mhm.
that so that just the wheel just sort of, you know, came out of noticing that those 2 factors overlap.
Right. And it
Yeah.
makes these, like you're saying, 4 quadrants of
Makes 4 quadrants.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know from my personal experience of using the wheel of consent and things that I've learned in your workshops and from you is that it the tool it's a tool for enhancing relating
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
there's a way I've never thought of touch. For me, it's always been giving, receiving,
Mhm.
doing to the other person what I think feels good to me. So I'm going to do that to them. But maybe
Mhm.
that's not what they've asked
That's
me for. Am I really giving altruistically? Like
yeah.
what is going
Yeah.
in that dynamic? And
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been learning so much from you. And we're excited to share this tool through the class you'll be teaching to help enhance relating, especially communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think particularly for women, and I don't speak for all women, but
Mhm.
I think it's very common among women to feel like when we're being touched, is it really is it really for me or is it for the other person's benefit? And do I like this? Do I not like this? If I don't like this, what do I do? Uh, if I do like it, am I allowed to show it? And am I supposed to like it? And what's wrong with me if I don't like it? And blah 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 blah. So
Exactly.
playing with that in the course.
And that's so important because the conditioning that all of us humans receive,
Yes.
but especially women,
Yeah.
it's hard to differentiate
Yeah.
between what's my desire and what's
Mhm.
my desire because I'm
Both.
supposed to.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I don't really like this, so what's wrong with me? Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, the second guessing and doubt
Yeah.
and not knowing where I end or where I can end and you begin because
Yeah.
aren't they supposed to merge and be one big blob and I default to you?
Yes.
I just
It's the one big blob
one big
theory.
blob of not me.
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
I've really
Yeah.
found that the wheel of consent for me has helped me see where I end and another
Yes.
person's experience begins and how those two experiences can coexist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And to know that my experience is not your experience.
Mhm.
Well, who knew? You know? Yeah. Yeah.
Eureka. Indeed. And that's why I felt so important to invite you to be a guest teacher and a guest faculty member now at the Shakti Shiva Academy, because this resource that you have put together and now given to the world through your book is so important.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it is. I hope
Yeah.
other people find it so.
I've found it to
A
be.
lot of people have.
Yeah. And it's now really around spreading around the world in such a beautiful way. And I'm
Yeah.
thrilled about your new
Yeah.
book.
Thank you.
Thrilled to be
Thank
having you
you.
join us. And so it's a real pleasure getting to talk with you today. And there's going to be so much more we'll be learning from you and during the course and during your bonus call. So thank you, Betty,
Yeah.
so much
It'll be
for
fun.
joining us.
I
It's gonna
look
be great.
forward to it.
Yay.
Thank
Absolutely. Thank you, Betty.